Okay, so today we are going to talk about starting the day right, the mornings. Um, and yesterday I posted that when we start the mornings right, the day flows well, right? So mornings are important. They kind of set the tone for the day. And um, earlier on, I had this erroneous idea that, mornings, because we keep hearing, right? Mornings should be productive. It's better to get done with stuff in the morning and, do your lessons quickly in the morning. And that's the right way to go. While this is absolutely accurate, but having that expectation and going into the day with that expectation with little children can be problematic. And why do I say that? That's because I've seen it time and again that whenever I enter my day with this sort of an expectation, I'm a little bit like um, a little too regimented. That would be the best way to put it. I tend to get a little too regimented, and that really throws off kids. That doesn't work well with the nature of the child. Like for example, if I wake up with a very strict agenda, right? And if I decide on all of these things which will help me be productive in the morning, and I start kind of like, because we're homeschooling moms, right? It's a slightly different dynamic. Like if I was working or if I was in a different setting, very structured setting, and if I was doing this in that setting, it would have probably worked. But it doesn't flow very well in a typical homeschool, right? So I have 10 tips to share, because I can go on and on about, like there's a lot of things that I've discovered over the years, but I wanted to share 10 simple tips that can help us. So I'll just jump into those because I don't want to make this live too long. So, number one thing that you can do to start your mornings right is, first and foremost, try and wake up earlier than the kids. And I know this is not practical for everybody. And I have some suggestions for people who are probably nursing in the night, or, who are basically not in a situation where they want to wake up any earlier than the kids. And the kids may wake up earlier than them. And I will come back to that. But if you can help it, try and wake up earlier than the kids. What this does is it prepares you mentally for the day. And there have been times, and actually, I do this almost every night. I also prepare myself the previous night. I plan the next day in advance. What I have learned to do over the years is I have learned to block time for a homeschool. And there is a concept, I learned it from the books that I read on Waldorf education, like aim for a rhythm, not a routine. Now, with children, if you have a very strict schedule, it tends to backfire. So what I have done in my mind is, I have reserved blocks of time for my children where I don't let any other interruptions come in. So there are some things which I guard, like really guard, and then there are things which are kind of like, okay, it's okay if I make a few exceptions here and there. So that's about, mentally preparing yourself. What is your day going to look like? And this is something that is taught even in productivity books, and in whenever I read and I learn about, how you can be more productive and how you can have like high performance. They always say that if you visualize your day, it helps you become more productive. So I visualize the part that I can do, not what the kids can do. So let's say I know that tomorrow I have to teach them math, history, or language arts, or whatever. I will I will not make it about, like, I have a rough guideline about what I will accomplish with the children, but I don't let it become like so fixed in time that it starts to affect me when I'm doing it, because with kids they're a little bit unpredictable. So what you can have is like a broad block of time reserved for your homeschooling, and you can have a rough outline, and you can keep it similar every day. or you can keep it variable depending on how you have scheduled your day. I don't want to get into scheduling and planning. I mean, I have a video on how you can schedule time instead of the actual lessons, and that can also come in handy. That video can complement this. But for now, I think I just want to focus on one thing, that you need to wake up earlier than the kids if you want to fill your cup. Get yourself mentally ready for the day. It will prepare you for what is to come and how are things going to flow. So basically, fill your cup before you can fill theirs. Second tip is that lower your expectations, right? I think I already touched upon this because it's so like ironic, like because I don't know why I kept repeating this mistake so many times. I think whenever I became like, okay, I need to be productive, I would start doing that, and then the kids would get restless. So, that mindset that let's get everything done quickly so that I can get back to my other stuff does not work. Instead, think about what can you do with the kids in your mornings. Let's say it's chores, or let's say it's your laundry, or let's say it's your, making breakfast. How can you involve them so that you can get stuff done with them, rather than um, rather than let me get through the lessons so that I can get to work. You know what I'm saying? So for example, let's say if you have a choice between, okay, we can wake up early in the morning and I can do math, science, language arts, whatever, and then go in the kitchen and cook together, like cook with them or cook by myself, or I can go and do my cleaning. That doesn't work. Instead, you can shift it a little bit, or you could even add those things as breaks in between. So for us, the first thing in the morning, they have something called as a morning routine. Now, in the morning routine, I have bundled everything that I want them to do independently. Okay. Everything. And it's not just the normal brushing and making the bed. I have added more things in that facilitate me as a mom. And I'll get to that in a minute. The second thing is, okay, then we do the chores together. And in the chores, my kids empty the dishwasher, I make some breakfast or whatever, and they also have. So there is a part of the breakfast which is not dependent on me, which is like it's part of their morning routine. They have to drink a cup of milk every day by themselves. And we drink raw milk, so they just open the fridge, they serve themselves milk. This is to make sure that nobody's cranky, and they don't have to wait for me to do something, right? So that's very easy. They just have to pour milk and drink it. And even simple things like making a toast for themselves, or like simple making breakfast kind of things, right? So those can become a part of your morning routine. um, with a younger child, so this is the tip number 3. With a younger child, give this child attention first. So if you find yourself, like if you have, like, let's say 3 children or 4 children, and so don't worry about the older ones. I know the attention tends to go on the older ones because we have so many more lessons to go with them, and we tend to gravitate towards like, look, I can do all the difficult lessons in the morning because the mind is fresh. Leave that aside. I mean, I don't know why, but it's just been like reverse, based on my experience, and even the people who I talk to, when they try that approach, it backfires. What you do instead is you start with your youngest first. So you sit with your youngest one, you play with them, or you just basically give them attention. So if you have a toddler or a young baby or whoever it is, right, your younger ones need your attention first because they are the more attention seeking ones. They need they need that security and everything. So with these children, you want to spend time first. Now, what you can do with your older ones is train them gradually to do a few things independently, whether it's their personal responsibility type of things, like, making their breakfast, or, even starting a few lessons, right? You can train them gradually and they will get there. It may not happen instantly, but it does. And I've seen kids as young as like 5 or 5 or 6 are capable of, putting some butter on their toast and just eating it, or, having a cup of milk. Try to remove that responsibility from your plate and make it their responsibility. And obviously, there are steps you have to take and get them there. But once they're there, it's easy for you to just focus on your, let's say, grooming. You groomed yourself, the kids are already up, and the older ones know what is expected of them, and the younger one, you can give them attention. The other thing I would say, and this is something that I would highly, highly, highly recommend, uh, you at least leave some time in the morning for them to play. I know it's like, and trust me, if you have clearly communicated how much time they can play, it's not difficult for them to come back and start the lessons. Some days they may be really interested in playing, and that's like an exceptional situation. But if they get that morning time to play, they are just so much more prepared for the lessons and for the structured work, right? So have that. In the end, I will give an example of what all of this would look like in a real life situation. So far I talked about waking up a little earlier to fill your cup, so that you can sit peacefully, have your tea, or just mentally prepare yourself for the day. The second one was lower your expectations. Don't get into the day with this high expectation that we will get through everything quickly. And try to have a rhythm rather than a routine. Work with your younger child first. And when I say work with your younger child, I don't necessarily mean you sit down and you do their lessons. It could be just giving them attention, reading them a little board book, or whatever you're doing, right? This will ensure that they don't interrupt you when you're working with the older ones. Train your older children gradually to do some of the things independently, which is like making breakfast or doing some chores, or uh, uh, even starting with some of their lessons if they need to, right? Like I have a very, very simplified homeschool day, and I mean it when I say this. Like it's a very simple day. I just have a few things that I focus on, and I try to combine multiple things within that um, time frame. I actually combine multiple subjects. But it's taken years for me to reach that point, and alhamdulillah, and that's why my focus is always. I don't share a lot of resources. There's a reason for that, because I feel like they can quickly overwhelm us. What we need to learn is how to take something and take a lot out of it. Once we learn how to do that, homeschooling becomes simple. It could be a simple book that you could grab, and you could spend an entire productive homeschool day with that simple book, and just pretty much cover multiple subjects using that. And there's a way to do that, and this is something that is, I know a lot of my course students are here, and that's something that we will cover as we go ahead, as we explore each of the educational methods. And you'll see all of these pieces come together, inshallah. But the idea is that the more simple you keep it, the less expectations you have, the more you're able to do it, because we all want to feel successful, right? If we add too much and pack in too much in the day, it's very easy to start feeling that I'm not doing well, or nothing's happening, or we are struggling, right? Whereas that may not be the case. So if you plan your day, make sure that you're not packing in too much, your expectations are not unrealistic, and you've added some margin. So let's say you intend to do like half hour of math, so you assume 45 minutes for math instead of half hour, so you've given yourself that buffer, right? Another thing you can do is in the morning, you can do chores together instead of starting with lessons. Now, what that does is it takes some of the pressure off of you. Like, for example, like we do the emptying the dishwasher together. What that does is it's gradually training my sons to do that. Actually, they do it on their own now. But when we started, it was more like, let's all do this together, right? So you're also training them. At the same time, it gets their bodies moving. Let's say first thing in the morning, you're all like exercising together, or you are doing chores together. It gets their bodies moving. It just helps them settle down a little bit better. Um, and Any kind of movement helps. So even if you have like an exercise routine, and I know that we used to do this, we used to jog in the mornings. We don't do that anymore, because we are more like we tend to do it in the evenings now. And lately we have not even been doing much in the evenings because of my schedule becoming, so busy. But sometime in the day exercise is good. If you do it in the morning, the benefit is that the boy, especially with boys and kids who have high energy, it just helps them settle down and pay attention and focus on their work. But when you do these things, I don't want you to overstretch yourself. Like, I know that when we were doing the jogging in the morning, often we would start doing our nature appreciation and spend a lot more time on the trail than I intended to. And it would, I would lose a lot of time doing that. And then I would get a little bit upset, or frustrated that, oh, we spent so much time on the trail and now we have to do all these lessons. So you are the best judge of your situation. Use your judgment, see what is important to you. Even if you let your children have, like, let's say, half hour of playtime in your home while you do something for yourself in the morning, it's good enough. The idea is for them to express themselves and, emotionally, kind of, I don't know how to say it, but basically express themselves, like emotionally dump things out of them, so that they can, when they come to your desk and you start reading something, they are like feeling very clear. Just like we need to ease into the day and we need to have our cup of coffee or tea peacefully, they have that too. And for them, the most therapeutic thing is playing. So, once they get that, they would come, in a better state of mind. And I don't know how many times I have tried to, like, eliminate this, and it has backfired almost every time. So even recently, because I have involved myself in a lot of programs, like a lot of courses and things like that, and basically a lot of work. So what I was trying to do is, let's try to get done by 3 p.m, so that's when I go and I work for 1 hour, because they anyways have a quiet time in the afternoon where they read books. So then, but it was bad for us. Like, I did it like for 2 weeks, and then I was like, no, this is not happening. I am not going to make it regimented like this for them. They can, I don't want to do that. Because when we, demand right from the time they wake up, and we start, like, have this expectation that this is how things are going to be, it gets too much for them, especially with something that requires them to focus and learn, right? If it's about making their bed, doing chores, those are different. Those don't demand so much of the mental energy, right? So it helps to ease into the day rather than become like regimented. um, um, but do what is reasonable. The second thing is that, when you, like, a lot of parents say that once they start playing, they don't want to come and it's a problem. Usually the problem is that we are not communicating clearly. And I don't know how many times I've noticed that problems come up because I have not communicated clearly. Like, if the children go into the day knowing what is expected of them, they are they are very likely to cooperate. They don't really, like, children are actually very, it's a well known fact. Even in parenting books and stuff, you can see that, children don't really want to ruin your day. They don't really want to come in your way. They have a lot of things going on within themselves which we want to factor in. And once we factor that in and work with them and meet them where they're at, things always fall in place. So when you begin the day and you are giving them playtime, be consistent and have that clear expectation that, okay, we are going to play, whatever is comfortable for you, like 45 minutes, or let's say 1 hour, or 30 minutes, or 15 minutes, whatever works for you. You start in that way. The next tip that I have is, when you start your school day, you can begin with an activity that allows them to express themselves. Again, I'm going back to, basically, I'm all my suggestions are going in the direction where I'm trying to meet their needs, whether it's the physical needs. I'm trying to incorporate movement into the mornings, or whether it's their emotional needs, which are fulfilled through playtime or whatever. And even the first activity that we do is an activity where they get to express themselves. which is journal time. And I don't do journal time as in I tell you what to do in your journal time. It's more of like they do what they want to do. It's usually they sketch things, sometimes they write things, sometimes it's just like they do different things at that time. But it's something where they put a thought in their mind on paper, and I give them a blank sheet of paper. It doesn't even have lines, because I want that to be a time where they own the process. It's like a creative outlet for them. And I also think it's like an emotional outlet for them, because whenever I have taken this thing out of their schedule, I've seen a difference in the way things go. So, start of the day itself, having that time for them to just express themselves and do their own thing really helps. It makes a lot of difference. And I have an IGTV video on this, like how we do journal, morning journal. And I think I've talked about it many a times. If anybody has any questions about this, you can type in. There is a time lag on Facebook, so even if you leave, type your questions right now, so that in the end, when I go through them, inshallah, I can answer them. So type away if you have anything to add to that, or any questions or any points. Right? Lulu is saying like a brain dump. Yes, exactly. It's like a brain dump. And for them, I don't know, it just really helps them. It seems to really help them to have that time. And I've tried different variations of that. I've tried to make it more like, I'm going to give you prompts and you can work on this, or I'm going to come up with a theme and then you write about it or you draw about it. It just, it's not the same. I think just leaving it blank, and then I did end up reading a lot about it, like how beneficial this can be, even in terms of like their own them getting a chance to give time to something they care about in their learning. Like, I know my son it's been many months, he's been obsessed with airplanes. He's been drawing airplane sketches every day. And over the years, when I see, even from the time when he was 4 or 3, I have periods of time where he has focused on a particular sketch. First, it was the grass mower. Then it was the bouncy house blower. I mean, I don't know, like it's been all these, like, then it was a stand mixer. Like, it's something or the other that has caught his fascination, and he's trying to figure out stuff. And I cannot tell you the kind of amazing things he has learned in the process, because he's asking questions that he cares about, and he's thinking about it, and he's putting it down on paper. It just refines his own personal learning. And I had read it somewhere that anybody great who has achieved anything amazing in their life, they were able to pursue a problem for a long period of time, right? Nobody was telling them what to do, and they were just after that problem, like until they could solve it. So if you're homeschooling and you want to have, we want to provide them an enriching educational experience, and bring out the best in them and keep them self-motivated, we have to kind of use these things. And trust me, it has benefits in terms of their cooperation. It has benefits even in the way they behave, all of the other areas. It's like, we are very complex people, right? Human beings are very complex people, and our emotions and our intellectual pursuits, everything is kind of like interconnected. So it helps. And so that's that. Okay. And another thing is like, um, um, the last thing, oh yeah, this is not the last thing, actually. This is a very important thing. Begin your day with the remembrance of Allah. And I think this is something that we all know. And but it's just so important to make it a part of your morning routine or your morning ritual. Just you pray in the morning, and then you do your adhkar. Or by adhkar, I don't mean like you have to do all the duas. You can just do a few things, but do it mindfully. Reflect on the meanings. Don't just recite and not understand anything. Reflect on the meanings, because that's where you are really thinking about the help of Allah. You're really thinking about that somebody is with me, and it's not just anybody. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's with me in this. and he's going to take care of me. Like there are some duas that really really help me, like for example, the dua which we say in the mornings, uh, which means that, Allah, don't leave me alone even for the blink of an eye. Like, you imagine how empowering it is when we acknowledge that, Allah is with us, and then I'm asking Allah to be with me and not leave me even for the blink of an eye. And if he's with me like that, I don't need to worry about anything. Inshallah, my day is going to be excellent. My day is going to be productive. Everybody will cooperate. Everything will be nice. And you will notice that your day will go well. And if you, God forbid, and it does happen all the time, if you find yourself slipping, if you find yourself yelling, if you find yourself doing something not so nice, you will have the God consciousness, right? You will recognize it quickly and you'll correct it quickly. You'll have the humility to go back to Allah because you remembered him, right? As you remembered him consciously right in the morning. So start your day right, fill your cup, remember Allah, and make dua, ask Allah for help, do your adhkar, and then just attack the day after that, right? And be practical. All the tips that I said so far, all of them matter, but this one right here is your, this is kind of like something that really really will frame your mind in the right way. Because when we start thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, automatically we have this different kind of strength. No longer do you feel that everything is on my shoulders, my weak shoulders. I'm not the only one carrying all of this, and this burden by myself, and I have to do everything right. Allah is actually with me, and I'm trying, and Allah just wants me to try, and that should be good enough, inshallah. My imperfect uh, day will become perfect, and Allah will fill it up and make up for wherever I am falling short. So having that faith really takes the burden off and helps us relax. So let's say our child is testing us, or somebody is not in the mood to do something, somebody spills something, like, you are not treating it as the end of the world, right? You are treating it as part of the process. And I think I've talked about this so many times. Focus on the process, not the outcome. Process over the product. Process is important. You are in a process. So if you imagine your perfect lesson to end in a perfect way, like let's say I'm teaching division, and my expectation was that, okay, by this date, we will have done all the division lessons, and these are the lessons that I've divided, and everything has to be done. If that goes a little off track, you will know that, okay, we have a problem, we did not meet our goal, but you will see it just as a tiny glitch. You will not make it so big that it defeats you, or it bogs you down, or it just throws you off balance, or makes you misbehave with your children, right? So that recognition that Allah is with me really 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 makes a difference. The last point that I want to share is something I passionately believe in. Like, I think the people who are on my course, they know this, and even from all the people who come here and listen to me, they know this. Like, I don't believe in blanket advice at all. It does not work. What if I tell you, do X, Y, and Z? It may not work for you, right? I want you to learn to become an observant mom. That would be your biggest tool to figure out solutions. Pay attention, because everything around us has patterns. And once we learn how to recognize patterns, we are able to problem solve, right? It's like homeschooling is like hacking, right? We are just hacking the education system. We are just hacking our way into how we can make education happen in our everyday life. Like, it's like hacking. So you have to look closely for patterns. Like, there are clues, and if we learn to observe children, if we learn to observe ourselves, our weaknesses, our tendencies, it really helps. So let's say you're not a morning person, and I received a ton of questions from moms saying that they're not a morning person. It's great. It's a great place to start. At least you are paying attention to an area where you're perhaps, either you're naturally like that, or you are at this phase of in this phase of life you're struggling with waking up early in the morning, whatever be the case, right? But starting from a place of self awareness is important because that helps us solve the problems. So there was a phase when I was and I do this usually in summers. So in summers I will usually go back to sleep after fajr, because the fajr is really early, and in summer we do a lot of like physical activities. We are on the trail for until almost sunset. We eat late, we sleep late. So I don't know how many of you know this, but I actually go by seasons. Our routine changes in winters and from summers, and we pretty much do school all year long, but we take a lot of breaks, and it's a more laid back schedule. So that's what works for my family. So I have been doing that for a while. So in summers I like to go back to sleep after fajr, but my boys like to stay up. So what I did is, just to facilitate my extra sleep time, I trained them uh, to do a few things on their own. And I basically helped them reach a point where I could like easily go back to sleep for an hour and they would be fine. So they would do their morning routine, they would drink their milk and everything, and they also know how to prep some of the breakfast things, and they love baking and things like that. So they do all of that prep and they wait for me to wake up. Okay. Usually when they're done with that, so let's say my son is making donuts or he's made the pancake mixture or something, then the moment I wake up I'll do the frying or the more, like the something that involves the turning the gas. Like they're not I don't allow them to turn on any of the electrical like gas or anything like that when I'm not around. If I'm sleeping or something, that's just not allowed. But they do the other stuff. So you can train them to work in a way that it helps you as a mom. It doesn't have to be like we have to wake up in the morning, right? You have to factor in where you are at. So let's say you're nursing a baby, you're tired in the mornings, you need extra sleep in the mornings. Let them play, like give them some safe toys, and let them have some time to play in the morning. It's fine, it's not the end of the world. We don't have to exactly function the same way. We don't have to exactly follow the same routine. Why are we doing homeschooling then? We are not doing. I mean, I remember this thing that I heard from somebody, and I thought that was like almost bizarre. This lady, she told me that, with homeschooling, the problem is every year looks different. And this lady homeschools. And like, I don't know, like she said that's the problem with homeschooling. And I would argue that's the advantage of homeschooling. Like, I don't see that as a problem. Isn't it amazing we can do it differently every year, based on our circumstances, based on our situations, as long as it's quality education, as long as it's enriching, as long as our kids are building the skills, as long as they are growing, as long as they are motivated to learn. It's amazing, right? So our the way we judge our day is not on based on all this preconditioning and all this mindset stuff that we carry, right? Which is usually based on what we know of schools. That reference point is such a problem for us, right? Constantly that subconscious, our subconscious mind keeps comparing it, and it keeps throwing us off. Like, okay, mornings means it has to look like this, or it has to look a certain way, only then it would be right. Like, there are kids who may benefit from just playing in the mornings, doing family chores, getting together with each other, and just maybe doing some journal or sketching or painting or whatever. And in the afternoon after the lunch, you could pick up your main core lessons. There is no harm in that. Yes, the earlier you finish, the more intense lessons, it's better. But do you have to do it that way? It depends on you and your children and your situation, and you can judge that, you can observe, and then course correct. So my last suggestion was, observe closely, observe what is working, observe what is practical, and keep adjusting until you find the right rhythm. So that was about it. Any questions so far? And any comments, anything so far? I'm in, I'm in the video, baby. What?
Hello.
Saki, you gotta go. Go, beta.
Hello, everyone.
Oh my god. Zaki, you gotta go, mama. Please, please.
Do I really have to do math? Can I do math or leave with you?
Okay. Did you finish your memorization?
Yes.
Go, Zaki. You made it a habit now. Go, go, go.
Assalamualaikum, everyone.
Oh my god. Alaikum assalam. Close the door, close the door. Oh my god. This kid. Okay. He is so smart. He came in to ask, do I really have to do math? Because he knows I'm compromised. Funny guy. Okay. So where was I? Sorry, I'm like blushing now. So yeah, any questions? And I think I just wanted to leave with a few questions. A couple of questions that will help us. Thank you, guys. You guys are so sweet. Thank you for your lovely comments. Um, okay. So I have a couple of questions that you can ask yourself, and this will probably help you fine tune your day and your mornings, especially. So the one question would be: are you too regimented? Like, am I being too regimented? That's a question you can ask. Is there a partnership between me and my children, or is it more of my way or highway? Is your routine really factoring in your children and what they want to do or what they like doing? Is it too open ended and with no clear expectations? That's another one. Like, is it too loose? Like, that's also problematic, right? Like, sometimes I have had phases where I have not made it clear. And then when they didn't do anything, I felt like, how come you guys are not doing anything? Like, so they won't know what to do if we don't communicate, right? Or if we keep it too unclear for them. And the last thing would be, are you clearly communicating what you want from them? Is it very clear to them what is expected of them? So it's one thing to have clarity in our mind, but have we made that effort to make it clear to them? What is it that is expected from them in the mornings, and all of that. So these were the few questions. I think I'm done, and I'm ready for questions. I'm going to go ahead and read the comments now. Oh, this is okay. You guys have comments for my son. Okay, can homeschool now after watching that. Jahan is saying that. So what did you tell him? Radhika is asking me. I think I told him that, okay, we'll talk about it after some time. And I asked him, did he memorize? He memorizes a little bit of Quran too in the afternoon. So I asked him if he did that. I'm not going to make it a fight right now. I'll just go out and figure it out. And I'm almost done anyways. So I think he knows that these videos are being watched. So I think he just wanted to come and say hi. Just, it's funny. Shabnoor is saying, so cute and smart, Jazakallah khair. Jahan is also saying the same thing. Lulu's saying, Walaikum Assalam. Aish is saying, so cute, very sweet. Work with Naila saying, hey, mummy's handsome boy. Okay, guys, where are your questions? Or do you not have any questions? Lulu is saying it sets your mindset to dua and being mindful awareness of Allah. Absolutely, like being aware that Allah is here, Allah is with you, and you don't really need anything else. You don't need perfection. You just need to make your effort, and that really helps. Lulu is saying it's on her IGTV. Oh, she's saying she's. Thank you, Lulu. You always answer other people's questions, and it helps me out. Excellent tip regarding the journal time. Thank you so much. Anything else? If I may suggest, involve older children in taking care of the younger one. Give them responsibility of little things to do for the baby. It helps developing sense of responsibility and caring family. Excellent suggestion, mashallah. So work with Naila is saying, not work with Naila. Naila is saying that you can teach your older child to take care of the younger one. which is great. Like anything that is going to help you. And this is what I mean when I say observe your situation and find out solutions that will work for you. If you teach your older children to keep the younger ones busy, it's great because it helps you. It teaches them family values. It teaches them how to step up when needed. It really prepares them for a future, because they are going to be parents someday. They are going to be with their own families. If they don't know how to step up, in everything, subhanallah, I feel like life keeps presenting us opportunities. We are so fixated with learning and the way it should look like, that we keep leaving these opportunities, and I try to create this perfect environment for the lessons to happen. That has to change in our mind. Like, subhanallah, there's so many opportunities within the day without you seeking a book or paper or pencil. If As long as like you're mindfully present and you're making that effort um, to seek them out and capitalize on them, you will find them. Jahan is saying, I'm not a morning person, but I would love to be, inshallah. Um my periods mess things up. And when I don't have to pray Fajr, it all gets knocked off. And Jahan, I would like you to kind of like, extend that grace to yourself. It's okay. And I was not always a morning person, but I've noticed that if I wake up early, it helps me. And there is definitely blessing in those morning hours. But how you use it and how you use it, keeping in mind your current circumstances, is what matters. Don't beat yourself up for it if you're not able to do it in your current circumstance. There are times when we are not able to do it. Like, I have gone back and forth based on my situation, and I can extend that grace towards myself, right? So yeah, I mean, yes, periods also kind of throw you off balance. um, and sometimes in the night you just want to, like, what, when the kids go to sleep, that's the only time you have with yourself, or with your spouse. So that is also there, and it's all about balance and about fine tuning. So I guess we are good. Susan Sultan is on Facebook. She's asking, any advice for a child who likes to lag and draw out starting schooling? So, um, any advice for a child that likes to lag, or basically, wants to delay school hours? So there should be some accountability, right? So if you have some sort of an accountability in place, and if you followed everything, like, they have a clear idea of what is expected of them. If you have laid it out clearly, what is expected of them, and uh, th- and you've set the tone for the day, and you've factored all of these things in, inshallah they will not have so much resistance, because they have had a chance to do their thing. Obviously, not all children want to start the school. Like, if it is up to them, sometimes they just don't want to begin. But that's where your parenting comes in, and your parenting skills and your those type of things come in. um Inshallah, I don't know if that helped. Let me know if any of these points, try this out, try some of these things out, and see where you're still struggling, and go from there. Like, it could be that they are not really, they're feeling that the entire day is too regimented. If they feel that, then they will try to extend that morning time, right? If they know that they have an outlet somewhere, they are more likely to cooperate. So, like, I have gone through phases where I became very regimented, and then I would see that there was resistance, and like, just not the right mood. And then I had to change things up. So perhaps, like, pay close attention to what your schedule is like. And the last point that I made about, observation, observe closely. Where is the problem? Are you expecting too much? Are you asking too much from them? And perhaps you can negotiate with them. Perhaps you can sit down and discuss with them, like, okay, what do you want to learn about? Or let's say, this time slot, I can save it for this, so that you can do your own thing. Or let's try to get this done. Let's at least get started with school at this time, so that we can be productive, and then we can have time to do other stuff. they're very willing to talk and negotiate and cooperate as long as we give them that chance. So uh, Aish is saying, I run out of things to do with my kids. Uh, like you mean like your school day? You run out of um, they still have energy and they want more. Um, is that what you're saying? Just clarify. I'll answer. Jahan is saying, Sister Noor recommended timers for us, and I feel like that's part of clear communication for us at this point. Yes, yeah, scheduling time, not the task, is such a lifesaver. It's just amazing. Even within, like, for myself, I have that inbuilt blocks of time in my mind. So even if I don't get through all the lessons that I planned for the day, if I've spent X number of hours with the kids where we have engaged, where we have had good conversations, where we have touched in some way the core subjects that matter to me, and I think it's important for them to keep track of, then I'm fine. It doesn't matter if we didn't get to the history or we didn't get to the geography on that day. It's fine. As long as we have, and this is something that you'll learn with time as you grow in confidence. You will be able to look at the full picture and gauge whether, it's good enough. And this is something that is a little bit hard to teach, like, or hard to share in just a live session like this. And that's what I'm aiming to do in my program, because it takes time to build that skill in someone, inshallah. But once you have that, you really can, like, literally, I just have like a stash of books, and I'm able to, like, do things and get, like, different subjects covered through random books. And it's just about choosing the right books and having the right techniques. And inshallah, I think somewhere in the middle of this year, I will be announcing a different, um, like, basically the homeschooling simplified course that I'm doing. I'm going to break it up into two chunks, and the second chunk is going to have cover more of those skills. So it's possible that I will be able to offer that separately, but it depends on a lot of other factors, and I don't want to speak ahead of myself. But inshallah, I will come back and talk about it later. Mina Mimar Nimar. I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Mimar Sina's studio is saying, sorry, this might not be related to this discussion, but I am just wondering if you follow any set of curriculum to teach. So, yes. So, with me, I do use curriculum with some subjects, not all of them. Um, I don't use curriculum for all the subjects, but I've reached a point where I can comfortably stray away from curriculum because I have a good idea. And I'm not saying that you have to reach that point to do it, but it's with younger years, it doesn't really, there's a different set of principles that you need to keep in mind. But as they get older, I do believe that you need to have an idea where they're headed, so that we are not uh, losing track of some of the core skills that they will need if they want to go to college, or if they want to pursue higher education, and not just another track. So there's different tracks, right? Like, some kids are college bound, some kids actually take a different path. They want to get in the workforce earlier, or they want to they basically have a different track in mind. So I feel that as a parent, I need to make sure that I'm doing everything for them to comfortably make whatever choice they make when they are mature enough. I don't want to eliminate a possibility just because I think as a parent it doesn't matter. So that's why I don't necessarily completely leave it open ended, because I feel like that can be a little risky. And I have seen and met kids who have resentment for their parents because they felt that they didn't prepare them for things that they now need because of the choice they're making. I hope that made sense. Um, so yeah, as long as you know and you have a clear idea that what is it that they need, like, it comes with time, and it comes pretty quickly, so don't worry about that. It will come in pretty quickly. But um once you have that clarity, you will be able to mix and match curriculums, mix and match books, because part of what I've read and understood is not just the curriculums, it's beyond that. Like invested a lot of time in trying to understand an entire educational philosophy. So whether it was Charlotte Mason, Montessori, Waldorf a little bit, not too much, unschooling, like I've spent a lot of time trying to understand these. And it's like what I do now is kind of like, it's called an eclectic kind of an homeschool, where you're combining different ideas together to make it work for your family. In your everyday routine, what is the impact of involvement of father in whatever you've planned for them? Okay, dads in homeschool. Now that's another topic. You can definitely, if you're talking about my husband's involvement, he teaches more organically. We have a lot of discussions. um, he like we do as a family, we sit down and listen to tafsir all the time. Like it's just like part of our lifestyle. So we just, sometimes it will be in the passing, just in the car when we are driving from one place to another. Sometimes we will, I mean, from the last couple of months, we have been doing 10 minutes of tafsir every single night. And we do that on and off during the year. It just depends on his schedule. If he's available, he does it. One time I gave him like a chemistry book to do experiments with the kids. He did it a couple of times and then he stopped doing it. So, I mean, I know where his help comes in and what he's good at. Uh, I, I use it according to that. But I think he's good with the tarbiyah stuff and, being a good role model for the kids. And he helps me out in the house too. So, mashallah. Yes, exactly. That's why I was asking. Okay. Mashallah says Sabrina Zahran. Can you recommend any tafsir series? Please do share the tafsir you listen to. Okay. Guys, I have to go. It's Asr time, and we have to go. Um, for I'll come back and maybe type in and share these things, inshallah. So I'll get going. Jazakallah khair to everybody who joined in. And if you still have any questions, type in and send me a DM and I will answer that question, inshallah. I have to go. It's exactly 4 o'clock. I have to run. Okay, assalamu alaikum. See you.